Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Cage Talk. Today, I have former UFC #1 contender in the welterweight division, former PFL champion, Bellator fighter. We have the now retired mixed martial art, Jon Fitch. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good. Good to be here.
How's it feel that now it's retired mixed martial artist? How's that feel for you now, man?
Still getting used to it, but I've got a lot of projects, a lot of things going on. I'm in my studio. I got a number of podcasts and shows and live streams and things I'm doing. I'll be putting out a lot of online content for education purposes, teaching people how to fight and how to wrestle, defend, stuff like that. Be traveling, doing a lot of seminars, so it's gonna be a busy life. I think I was restricted before, always worried about when the training camp was gonna start or when the next fight was gonna be.
Yes, sir.
So it'll be nice to let myself just kind of get into that groove and not have to worry about that.
Definitely. And again, we're going to go over your career and stuff. But again, it seems like you had already a go-to plan after you were done with your career in MMA. It seems like you have your head on your shoulders and you know exactly what you want to do, man.
Well, I had to take the last few years to kind of study, do some research, kind of figure out what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it. I went around, putting a business plan together. I've started a couple of businesses that are more concepts and we never got off the ground before. So I've kind of failed at a few things that I've tried my hand at and, just kind of been looking where things are going to go. And I had a feeling that things were going to be headed more online content, more online teaching in the future. And that was before COVID happened. Okay. Yeah. So now it's like, whoop. Yep. I was already putting my wheels in motion.
You were plugged in already, man. You were plugged in already.
So, I mean, that's where it's going to be. Cause it's going to be, instead of running a gym, because you can't have the numbers that you need to sustain a gym.
Exactly.
I'll have online content. People can learn it online, and then I can go and I can do small groups and small seminars, different places that, are COVID compliant.
Sweet. I mean, that's I mean, you're ahead of the ball, like I said, man. I mean, especially nowadays, especially everything being limited, like you said. I mean, technology and like the internet and Zoom meetings, man, are the new normal. It's the new norm. Awesome, nice light there going on too. Damn.
I got a puppy. Who's demanding to get in the garage.
No, that's all right, man. Again, I'm a big fan. Been watching you since the very beginning. Let's talk about some of your highlight careers, and we're gonna be talking about your wrestling background because that was your main thing, and you were wrestling. You started at Purdue, correct?
Well, I started wrestling when I was 9. I was in the 4th grade, and I wrestled half seasons because I was still playing basketball, and basketball season lasted up until Christmas time. And after Christmas, it was over. So I would play basketball, and then after Christmas break, I would go and I would wrestle. And that was usually the second month and a half of wrestling in junior high. Boy, sorry. What are you doing? This guy's going to be a horse. Oh, man.
Hey, it happens, man. It's all right. It's all right. Man. What kind of dogs do you have, by the way?
He's a Canary Mastiff. He's 16 weeks, but he's already a small horse.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
So, you want to treat him like a real dog, but you realize, when he leans over on his side, you realize he's just a puppy. But yeah, where was I?
You were talking about basketball and then wrestling.
Oh yeah, man. No, yeah. So I had half seasons. It was something to kind of get away, the adventure of wrestling, because I got to ride the bus over to another school.
Okay.
And I was in the wild. That would never happen today. But yeah, and kind of fell in love with wrestling. Just fell in love with the battle of wrestling, and wrestling was always a secondary sport to me to football.
Okay.
And then, senior year after senior year, yeah, I mean, halfway through senior year of football, you start realizing like, well, Florida State's not calling. They haven't called yet. I don't think they're going to call.
Now, why'd you pick Florida State out of everything? I actually went.
They were hot. They were hot back then.
Okay. Because I'm like, I have a Florida State. I actually went to Florida State, so I was like, I don't know if you're throwing jabs at me right now or.
No. It was back in the day. Florida State was hot, and they had really good linebackers back in the day. It was a long time ago, maybe 100 years ago. And I don't know why, but yeah, that was the plan up until I realized that nope, I'm probably not gonna. I'm not fast. I'm not really that fast. Yeah, I'm not that fast. It's a good thing I could fight because I can't run away from things.
Well, there you go. That's good. And did you have anyone that you kind of looked up to that you were, that you kind of admired while you were wrestling, like maybe a wrestler or maybe just fighting in general, or not really?
I mean, fighting started, 93. So that was my freshman year in high school. So it wasn't really on my radar other than like something me and my friends would throw $10 in on and fights and a pizza sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until I got to college. I ended up wrestling at Purdue University, and I walked on there, and one of my assistant coaches, Tom Erickson, he was the heavyweight coach. He was number 2 on the Olympic ladder under Baumgardner for like 13 years. And he was fighting in Pride over in Japan at the time. He had some tapes that guys would pass around from his fights when he went to Brazil and fought. And, that was just kind of when I got reintroduced to the sport again. They started doing weight classes, and it cleaned up a little bit from what I remember seeing. And then he started having guys like Gary Goodrich, Mark Coleman. They would come to town and they would train, and I would just jump in just as an extra workout. It was something to change things up and get a sweat in. And then, there was a time when they're getting Gary ready for something, and I was doing well with him. We were just wrestling. We weren't punching or anything at the time, but like, I was like, man, I can get inside and take this guy down pretty easy. I was like, there's other guys I could do this too. And I was like, then I started hearing the stories that they would have and the adventures they were on and like the money they were making. Gary was making like $75,000 flat per fight at the time.
Really?
And that was cash. They paid these guys cash.
Wow.
So they had stories about how they would get their money overseas because they had 100 stuffed in their underwear and like just ridiculous.
Geez.
But yeah, so like they had all these stories that sounded pretty great, and it made it sound like a better career path than being a teacher and a coach. I was like, I could always come back to it.
Yep. That's almost like everyone's fallback. Almost like after they're done, they retire, they kind of look for a gym, they teach. But you're doing something a little bit different, online stuff. But yeah, I mean, that's their go-to thing is just to fall back on that.
Well, I mean, anytime you can learn and master a skill that other people are interested in, like you have a value to be able to teach that skill.
Definitely.
Doesn't matter if you're a plumber or you do jiu-jitsu or taekwondo, whatever. Like, just master something, and somebody's gonna want to pay you to teach them.
Definitely, man. And again, like I said before, you fought a laundry list of great fighters. I mean, you fought BJ Penn, you fought Pablo Tiago, Mike Pierce, Eric Silva, Rory McDonald, Paul Daly. I mean, GSP. I mean, the list goes on, man. Of fighters that you fought. Is there anyone that in particular that you kind of remember, like, man, like that was a battle or something along that line where you're just like, man, that was like something to tell maybe?
Well, I fought this guy named Jeff Jocelyn before I got into the UFC, and that was a hell of a fight.
Yeah. And
but GSP was tough. The Eric Silva fight was just a really fun exciting fight. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And
It was a good battle.
It was a fun experience. The whole trip was pretty awesome.
Definitely. Now, when you fought, okay, because that's probably the worst thing that could happen. You had a couple times in your career where you actually had draws. Now, are those worse than losses just because you're just like, Jesus, like I spent, all this time in training camp, and then you went to battle,
it's garbage, especially the BJ Penn draw, because it should have been. They had just started the era of 5-round main events, and we were announced when we first booked the fight that we were a 5-round main event. Like, that was the bout agreement for the fight was, hey, you want to fight BJ Penn for 5 rounds main event? I was like, yep. I was like, next stop, Titletown, because like 5 rounds, he's not going to make it. Probably won't make it off the stool after the third. Like, just don't get finished early. So, yeah, they changed that to protect him a little bit going into it. I think they kind of fucked with my mind, and like I was having so much pushback with them and everything because I had lost one. I was like 13-1 with one loss to the GSP, and they're telling me that I had no business asking for another title shot. And I was just like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, we'll get through that. We'll get through talk about that as well, because I mean, you went. I think before going into the GSP fight, I think you had the longest, win streak. I think other than that was Anderson Silva at the time, right?
Well, no, Anderson came after. It was Hoist Gracie. Hoist Gracie was the first one. He had 8 wins without any losses, and it wasn't like the same type of situation. He had fights in one night. So I was like the first one to hit that 8-0 in the newer era. But then Anderson blew the doors off that. Khabib, like a number of guys. I think Usman did too. Like a lot of guys have done it since.
There's a couple of them that have done it, but again, after
they
that,
even had to wait. They even had to wait longer than I did for a title shot. I think they had to go more than 8. Didn't Usman go more than 8 before a title shot?
No, man. Nowadays, it feels like anyone just gets a title shot. I don't know. Like, it just.
Well, it's because it's completely arbitrary. It's not the underlying framework of mixed martial arts is pro wrestling. That's how the business model is. Okay. That's why they can just arbitrarily throw out anybody into a title fight. They can take titles away. They can make up new titles. That's why, because it's not system. So like I make a lot of people mad because I say MMA isn't a sport, but I mean, like, fundamentally, it does not run and operate as a sport. It is pro wrestling, but the fights are not predetermined. Okay, but the rest of the structure is, let's just have this guy fight them. It's not. Yeah. It's not sport based.
I never got the rankings are weird.
They're arbitrary. They're just made up. There's no different than WWE rankings. Oh, well, Hulk Hogan's number 2.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it was always weird. I never understood that. And then, like you said about it being like almost like a show, when they did the BMF title that just came out,
100%.
I was just like, why are they doing this? Like, I understand, but I don't know.
They're testing the waters.
Yeah, just to see who would bite and stuff like that. And again, it was just something I was just like, I don't know how I feel about that. And then the same thing about the titles, the undisputed, and then they're not the real champion, but they have a belt. But
the interim titles, yeah,
like all that stuff. It was just a hot mess. I was just like, what is happening here? It was just too many titles. Too many people had too many. It's
because they know that they can get more views to the show if they're fighting for a title. Exactly. But they can also prevent guys from getting pay-per-view points by calling it an interim title. Oh, well, you have to defend the actual title to get pay-per. Like, it's just more goof. It's just goof. Yeah.
And your run through the what was your most exciting fight that you look back at? I mean, some people, like, I had Mark Hunt on the show, and he went on an event on UFC. He does not like the UFC not once. And I was just like here, it was my first person ever on the show too. So I was excited because it's Mark Hunt, man. I love Mark Hunt. And he's just going ham on the UFC. And I'm just like, oh shit. And he's just going off on how they're the piece of shit, they're scumbag, this and that. And I mean, I let the man vent. I mean, he has his views and he's actually went through the company. So there's a couple of fighters though that had the same viewpoint on the
Mhm.
UFC. So it was just, I was like, okay, thanks, man. Have a good one. Sorry to piss you off, but so
Mhm.
going back to that, what would be one of your fights in the UFC? Again, you have different organizations that you
No,
follow.
yeah, top two UFC fights were GSP and the Eric Silva fight, I think. I mean, my favorite performance might have been the second Thiago Alves fight, because I think I did really great the whole fight. I didn't finish, so they kind of poo-pooed on my performance, but yeah, I was uh, I was very happy. um, and then the Jake Shields fight was big because it was in Madison Square Garden. That was pretty great. Brian Foster fight was a lot of fun because it was a crazy circumstance fighting at we were on the Daytona track. They made us fight like 3 hours early because the
Really?
race got postponed. They're like, "Hey, you guys are here. Why don't you just start fighting now?"
Wow. Hey guys, you're here.
we
So,
got in. We were supposed to have like 2 or 3 hours before the first fight started,
uh-huh.
and the Ray Sefo comes in the back. He's like, "All right, guys, we got to get the first fights ready in 15 minutes."
Oh my God.
We're like, what? It was like kind of misty, and the floor is all wet in the ring. It was nuts.
Oh man.
But so like it made for a fun story.
I mean, definitely. I
and
mean,
then
that's something
and
good.
then the Rory fight was great because I was ready, I was prepared, I performed great. I know I won. A lot of people know I won, so I'm the uncrowned champ of
Of
that night, I think.
yeah,
And yeah, it was good times.
definitely, man. Again, after you left UFC, you went to a World Series of Fighting. Um, I'm gonna throw obviously a date that you're gonna obviously know. April 1st, 2016. What happened there, man?
That's Zeffrino.
Yep.
No, it's April 16th. That was April 2nd, wasn't it? When
I
I
thought it
fought
was
at
April 1st.
Zeffrino.
I mean, I think I did research.
April.
Hopefully.
I've got the banner, the WSOF banner in
Okay.
my branch starts Fitch Zeffrino
So
Friday, April 2nd.
okay, then I'm
And
mistaken. I'm
the Hard Rock Hotel Casino.
yes, sir.
Yeah, I can check it because I got the thing right on the wall.
so so how was that fight, man? Tell me how you're
It's
feeling.
good. Zeffrino was tough, and I felt really good. I had some issues leading up to the fight with my neck. I had another bulging disc, and I had to get a shot in my neck. That was like one of the last straws. I started thinking about being done because
Okay.
the first time I got the spine shot, they go through the back and they put me out, so I didn't really see anything.
Mhm.
And then the second time they didn't put me out, and they went through the front with like a huge needle in the front of my neck to shoot the disc.
Oh
And
shit.
yeah, that wasn't cool. I was like, I don't want to do this again. So then I started talking to doctors about what to do, and surgeons, they can't wait to cut it into you. The second they
That's
see
all
you,
they
they just
do.
start.
Yeah.
They don't even know what's wrong with you. They just can't. They're thinking about how to cut you open. So yeah, I ended up getting my neck, working on my neck by natural means, and that
Mhm.
that, that helped things out with there. But yeah, that fight with Zeffrino, he was tough. He was a lot taller than I thought he was going to be. Put a lot of things together
Okay.
well in the fight. But I think I was kind of restricted on some of my grappling leading up to the fight because of my neck.
Your neck. Yeah.
Like fight too much head wrestling, too much head fighting,
Mhm.
and it kind of irritate the disc and kind of make it a lot more uncomfortable.
Definitely. And again, after that, you had two more title defenses. So, and one of them was Jake Shields,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah,
Yep. Jake
fought
Shields.
him at Madison Square Garden. That was great. I switched southpaw
Okay.
for the fight, just trying to throw him off because I knew his go-to is 1-2 Frankenstein step to the lead leg. So I switched the lead leg up to throw him off. Threw him off enough to make him hesitate a lot more. I you know I lost one round, I think, but I didn't take any damage, and it was a good fight.
That's what you
satisfied
want.
with it.
That's what you want to come out with, with the least damage as possible, especially in a fight, man. And then
Mm-hmm.
after World Series of Fighting, you did your first Bellator fight with Paul Daly, which is well, he was in the UFC not too long, but you had a unanimous decision on that one, and
Mm-hmm.
he's dangerous. He's a dangerous fighter, man.
Yeah, he's explosive. So you got to be careful. I didn't let him land anything clean. I rolled with everything that he threw, worked my way into a lot of hip control positions and got the takedowns. But he did not want to fight up to his feet. He did not want to fight from his back. He would hold on to my gloves and then he'd talk to the referee and he'd try to get stood up.
Oh, really?
That's something that started like back in like 2008, 2007, 2008. They started standing fights up faster.
Yeah.
So like guys started to stall on bottom and they'd close their guard and they'd hold on to the gloves. And
they're working on the system.
Yeah. So if they stopped the fight enough, they would get stood up. So like that's happened. That's been going on for over a decade and it's ridiculous. It stops the fight. It prevents the guy from bottom to have like actually learn anything about getting up. It stops, it's a lot less finishes because the guy's not opening himself up trying to escape or trying to submit you. It's very frustrating.
I get you.
I think we need yellow cards. We need yellow cards for those guys that keep their guards closed for too long. Hit them with the yellow card. You got to move. You got to do something. Throw a punch, throw an elbow, sit up.
I know Joe Rogan was saying that he doesn't agree with someone getting taken down and then having the fight stand up again. They need to work their way.
If you didn't do anything,
yeah.
I understand if it's a stalemate because if the guy's locked his hands in a double leg like position and he's just controlling you for 30 seconds and nothing's really happening and there's no punches, there's no advancement, I get that. But if the only reason there's no advancement is because the guy on bottom is holding on, that's not okay. You got to be able to weigh who's doing work.
Gotcha. And then we'll talk a little bit about the not the Paul Daly, the Roy McDonald one. So again,
the robbery, the great San Jose heist.
That's almost like the Bret Hart, what was it? The Montreal screw job, like you said.
The Montreal screw job. That's funny.
So again, I mean, these judges, man, there've been some shady ass judges. I know I talked to Dean Thomas about scoring in MMA and how it's funky and it doesn't favor fighters just because it's boxing rules,
Well, I mean, it doesn't favor fighters because there's no real consistency to it, and you could win or lose a fight at any point, and like your only real power in the system that we have right now is winning or losing.
Yep.
The second you lose, you've really lost a lot of your leverage, right? So, yeah.
Well, what would you?
It favors the promoter to have inconsistent judging.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. You win fights, you get paid more, you get better opportunities. It may be harder to get than it should be, but like it's still the best path towards ascension is winning. So if they can randomly have a guy lose who won a fight, that favors them. I think the biggest thing that we need is clear-cut criteria around how to score a fight, because anybody should be able to read the criteria, watch a fight, and decide who won relatively accurately.
Yes.
Like I got some board games in the house that have instructions. So if I read those board games, or somebody comes over and they read the board games, there's criteria in that board games to tell you how to play. Definitely. And you should be able to play the game and pick a winner without there being too much like, oh my God, I can't believe Jerry won. How did that happen?
Like, what the fuck? We're playing.
So like, where is our criteria? Just write it out. What constitutes a score? What constitutes, how do you get this score in a round?
But
I think that's
the thing.
It's because they do it on purpose. It benefits the promoter.
There's
it's a benefit to the promoter. Even the boxing decisions that are screwed up, they benefit the promoters because now there's controversy. Now they can sell the fight again. Yep.
There's always something behind everything, huh? It's always
follow the money. Follow the money. It's all pro wrestling at the end of the day. It's all pro wrestling. Don't take anything too seriously. It's really just Hulk Hogan leg dropping shit.
So, your last final fight, man. All right, you fought a Gracie. His kid's an up and coming. I mean, he's a stud. Don't get me wrong. How was it going, transitioning? How was your camp? How was everything? Was your mindset you're already set to retire, or that was? No, I don't know.
No, I mean, I was comfortable with being ready to retire, but like I put in full effort to win the fight. You know, I thought I could beat him. I thought I would be able to close the distance and put hands on him a little bit better than I was able to. The one time I did hit him, I kind of forgot to keep my range, and he ended up getting the double leg. Mm-hmm. So yeah, we were training under quarantine conditions, but I'm in a place where there's certain amount of effort that I'm done putting into training. I think it's not so much that I'm done with fighting. I love fighting. If I could still do it at a high level and not have to train.
Yeah, I mean, I understand. I mean, you've been in the game for a while.
Like every other kid, I want to be good at this thing, and I don't want to work for it anymore. I've done the work. I'm ready to put the work in somewhere else. I'm having fun with a lot of the other stuff I'm doing. So,
all right, man.
Let's keep building.
That's awesome. Again, like I said, it's been an honor watching you since the very beginning. And you always brought your A game. You always left it all in the cage and stuff. So it was never a boring Jon Fitch fight ever. So, again, I just want to say thank you for all your hard work, man. It's paid off. You have a legendary career, and it's been a blast watching you, man.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
No problem, man. And then remember, what was I gonna say to you? There was something else I had to about putting your plug of whatever you're doing now. You said we talked a little bit early in the podcast about
Well, I've got a ton of stuff going on. I like doing a lot of things. I like having my hands in a lot of different pots. But so just go to jonfitch.net, and I've got everything linked to the website. You can sign up for the newsletter, and you'll definitely hear about everything I'm doing, what's going on. I got some free courses available on Gumroad. You can figure out what's going on with them, the social media and the email list. And I got my books on Amazon. Everything's on the website. So just give it a check.
Well, you're all set, man. Again, like I said, I appreciate everything. Thank you for coming on, buddy. All right. You have a good one, man.
All right.